member today to unlock ad-free videos. That's right, your favorite courses without a single ad. Interested in a specific video? Purchase one of our ad-free courses individually. Looking for even more? Gain access to exams, certificates, and exclusive content at learnitanytime.com. More information can be found in the video description below.
Hi everyone, in this lesson we want to overview how to navigate in Excel and get you familiar with some of the vocabulary that you'll actually see used in the platform. Microsoft Excel is a data analytics program that's been around for over a quarter century. It's really the main application that people use to calculate and analyze their data in any business setting. Now the first thing to know about Microsoft Excel is that everything is contained in cells, hence the name Excel. You'll see here that in my current spreadsheet, I have these little boxes. They're called cells. They allow me to designate data to a specific spot within this grid system. It's fantastic when you're trying to analyze and calculate data. You'll see that columns are known as letters, rows are known as numbers, and the way you locate a specific cell is to click in it, and it will be known by its column letter and its row number. Now, if you look up at the top of Microsoft Excel, it uses the same interface as the other Microsoft Office applications, like PowerPoint and Word. So you'll see that there are ribbons that you use to access different buttons, and when it comes to navigating, you click in a cell to locate a cell you want to type in. You can also select rows and columns by clicking on column letters or row numbers, and if you ever need to know what cell you're in, you can come up and look in the top left-hand corner. You'll see again the cell name box that will tell you the name of the cell that you're currently clicked inside of. You can select multiple cells. This is called arrange by using your mouse or your keyboard. And you can select non-adjacent ranges by selecting one group of cells, then holding down your control key on your keyboard to select a different group. Now the other critical thing to know about a spreadsheet is it also has sheets. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see that my current workbook has 3 sheets in it. The reason for sheets are to allow you to organize data by sheet. It's a great way to take large amounts of data and split it up in an organizational fashion. All you do is click on the sheet you want to go to, and that sheet will move forward. You can also insert more new sheets as well. Now, as always, if you need a practice file, we have practice files for you to use during this course. Just click in the link in the description, and it will take you to the practice files. The practice file I'm in right now is called Practice 1, and you can use it as you explore Microsoft Excel. The next thing that we'll talk about is how to do data entry in Excel, so join me for the next lesson.
Actually, my department uses Monday.com, so I'm good.
Work management tool? No, that's not for me.
Well, Monday.com is all about flexibility, so you can make it your own. You could choose pre-built layouts for anything, or build your own one. Just open the board, choose the columns you need, move them around, filter by what's most important here. That way you're not always busy. You perfect it.
I gotta show this to Ted. Ted!
Move it to Wednesday. No problem. You just tag Ted on Monday, write an update, and there you go.
Okay, so how do I use it?
You just go to Monday.com, all your work, broad view of everything you do. I'll celebrate a small win. It's actually kind of fun.
So how does one sign up? I'm just asking for Ted.
Just go to Monday.com and start a free trial today.
6-1.
That's all. Just 5 words. And if you pronounce them wrong, it can mean you're in danger of memory problems and cognitive decline and a global team.
What? Just in 2 years?
I know. It almost doesn't sound real. But researchers from Mayo Clinic found there's a direct link between how people pronounce these 5 words and cognitive
7-1.
Wow, I didn't know that. Just for those tuning in, we're here with Dr. Sam Walters, who has worked with NASA. He's studied over 3,400 brains. He's one of the nation's leading and renowned experts on memory and cognitive decline. How to prevent that from happening to you.
That's exactly right. You see, the true culprit is often consumption of 5 specific neurotoxins. Down in some of today's most popular foods, and to your list gradually destroys the mental clarity and eventually erases those precious memories altogether.
Rotting the brain, that sounds terrifying. Tell me a little bit more.
It is terrifying, but I do have some good news. I've discovered a simple, fairly simple technique you can do before bed to help reduce the brain rot while you sleep. And it's already helped more than 45,000 people rewire their cognitive decline.
Well, that sounds great. Can you tell us a little bit more about this technique?
I should tell you, I'm 80 years young, so I actually do this before bed every night. That's what I do in this video, where I demonstrate exactly what to do before bed to clear away brain fog, retrieve lost memories, and shield the mind. You can watch it by tapping the button below.
Okay, I have to watch this. If you're tuning in from home, you've got to watch this video as soon as possible. And I think that the reason you need to see this is because you have to understand that the healthcare industry is trying to censor Dr. Walker and keep thousands and thousands of people from getting this information. He's already helped over 45,000 people in this area, and he can help you. I know you can help all those folks, and you are very sincere and genuine about your work. So you can go and see this video by clicking the button below right now.
I just have a blank workbook open, and if you're trying to follow along with me, feel free to open up Excel as well and do this as we talk about it. Now, all you need to do to begin doing data entry in cells is click in a cell and start typing. I'm going to click in cell B2. Remember, your cells are known by their column, letter, and row number. When I click in cell B2, I can simply start typing. As soon as I hit enter, you'll notice that the data entry is complete. Now, another way to do data entry in Excel is to use the bar. It is used for two things: creating formulas and doing data entry. The formula bar is located right below the ribbons of Microsoft Excel. It can be turned off, but by default it should be turned on. You'll see this long white bar where you can do data entry. So I've clicked in another cell, C2. This time I'm going to go ahead and type in the topic that I want entered into my formula bar. You'll notice that as I type, whatever I type here in the formula bar gets entered in the cell below. Once I hit enter, you'll notice that that information gets put into the cell. So I can do data entry by clicking and typing, or by using my formula bar. Now let's chat for just a minute about keyboard shortcuts. When you're navigating inside an Excel workbook, you can use your scroll bars, but they can be a fairly slow way to navigate. So I just want to make a few suggestions. One of them is you can actually use the cell box next to your formula bar for fast ways to navigate. If I know that I need to get down to a cell quite a ways down in my workbook, I could scroll, but scrolling is one of the slowest ways to navigate. So instead, I'm going to click in the cell name box and enter in the column letter. In this case, the column letter is M. The row number is 500. And it doesn't matter if your column letter is uppercase or lowercase. I'm going to hit enter, and notice that my computer in Excel takes me all the way down to cell M500. Now, how do I get back to cell A1 quickly? I love the keyboard shortcut Control Home. This is on a PC. On an Apple computer, you'll need to use the Command button for this. But what you're going to do is look for the page up key on your keyboard. The Home button is always located right next to it. Hold down your Control key and then your Home key, and it will take you back to cell A1 in any workbook. This is a fast way to use your keyboard as opposed to using the scroll bars, because sometimes the scrolling will take longer than using those keyboard shortcuts. So just remember, get a new workbook open and practice typing in cells and navigating. You'll get the hang of it very quickly. Join us for the next lesson.
Sweeten your business purchases with American Express Blue Business Cash. Earn 2% cash back on your first $50,000 per year.
Welcome back. We're ready to show you how to use rows and columns in your workbook to edit the data in your Excel spreadsheet. I'm using a practice file right now called Practice 2. Please remember you can use these practice files to follow along. They're available in the link in the description below the video. Now what I want to do is go into my workbook and I'm going to click on column F. When you click on click on a column letter, you get a secondary menu that gives you opportunities to do things like insert new columns or delete columns. Please remember that if you delete a column, notice that everything, including the content in the column, will be deleted. I'm going to undo that. In this case, I want to insert a new column. So I'm going to right-click. By default, when you insert new columns, they always insert to the left. So you'll see that the current column moves over to one that I had selected, and I get a new blank. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Rows work the exact same way. In this case, I want to select more than one row. All I need to do is come in, and I'm going to highlight rows 7 through 11. You'll notice that I can select all the content in those rows just by left dragging on the row numbers. Now that I have these selected, I'm going to right-click and say Insert. Now I currently have several rows selected. When I insert new rows, they'll go above, and the same number of rows that I have selected will be inserted into my workbook. So you can see that by, again, working with rows and columns, you can manipulate large amounts of data in your workbook without having to individually select sections of your workbook with your mouse, because the columns and rows allow you to do it all at the same time. Feel free to use the practice files to play with rows and columns in your workbook of your own. Welcome back, everybody. Let's talk about printing, saving, and opening spreadsheets. Now, right now I have the practice file called Practice 5 Open, so feel free to use it as we explore these functionalities. When it comes to printing, I need to go up to my File ribbon to access the print option. I'm going to come to the top left-hand corner because the File ribbon is the very first one on the ribbon tabs. You'll notice that when you go to the File ribbon, it takes you to a part of Excel called the Backstage where the rest of your spreadsheet is covered up. All the functionalities run down the left-hand side. Print is right below Save As. When you click on Print, it takes you to a combination Print Task Pane on the left and a Print Preview on the right. Now I love this view because everything I need to preview and also update my print is right here. You'll see that you can do things like decide the number of copies you want to print, the printer that you're printing to, the portion of the workbook that you're going to print, and even do things like update the orientation. And I can view these changes as I make them, and even update things like my margins right here inside the print dialog box. When I'm ready to print, I just click on the print button, and my worksheet will suddenly be available on paper. Do note that the default is only to print the current sheet that you have selected. Now to exit print preview or the print dialog, I'm going to come to the top left-hand corner and click on the back button. When I'm back in my workbook, you'll notice that changes that I make in print do not update the workbook. The only thing you may notice is that you're going to suddenly see dashed lines in your workbook representing where page breaks are. And this happens after you go to the printed workbook. Now what about saving this workbook? Let's say that I've come in and made a few changes and I'd like to make sure my workbook is saved. We're going to come up to the File ribbon tab again, go down to Save or Save As. Save is commonly used the first time that you save a workbook. Save As allows you to take an existing workbook, navigate to where you're saving it, give it a name, and when you click on Save, I'm going to type in my updated name. That workbook file will be saved, and you can see the new name at the top. But saving in Excel is exactly the same as saving in, for example, PowerPoint for a presentation or Word for a workbook. Finally, how do I open up a file? Well, I'm going to go back to the File ribbon tab again and come into Open. This will take you into your computer where you can see different locations where you can save and open files. I'm going to browse, locate the file I want to open, either double click on it or select it and say Open, and then that file will open, and I'll see its name up here at the top. As always, remember, if you have multiple files open, a great way to switch between files is to come down to your Windows taskbar, locate the Excel icon, and then you can switch between the different files by just clicking on them. And again, try this out in Excel on your own so you feel comfortable opening, saving, and printing a file.
At Consumers, the quality of Kroger brand products will make you feel like you're winning. And at lower than low prices, you'll save at checkout too.
11-2.
Team Supers, fresh for everyone.
Hi everybody, let's talk about formatting inside Microsoft Excel. And what's really important in a spreadsheet is what's inside the cells. These are what we sometimes call your cell contents. Formatting is made to highlight one make it easier to understand the contents inside your cells. Right now I have practice file format 1 open. Feel free to use it to follow along as we try out these different formatting tools. There are 3 main things we want to talk about here: applying color, alignment, and cell borders. Now first of all, to apply any formatting, you need to select the contents of your cells. In this spreadsheet, I'm going to select cells B3 over to G3. Most of the formatting tools will be located on the Home Ribbon tab in the Font and Alignment groups. Or if you right-click, you'll notice that you get a toolbar that has a lot of the same tools in it. For this video, I'm going to be using the ribbon options. Let's start with color. I've selected my cells, and the first thing I want to update is the color inside the cells. This is what we refer to as font color. For this, I'll go to the font group and look for the capital letter A on the bottom row, and I'll see that when I click on the arrow next to it, there are different colors I can apply to the writing in my cell. It's really important that when you apply font color, you ensure that the color you select is still going to allow people to easily read the contents of the cells. What about the background color of the cell? This is what we call fill color. For this, I'm going to highlight A4 down to A13, and directly next to the font color button, you'll see a can. This is called fill color. This allows you to update the color inside the cells. Again, making sure that whatever fill color you pick does not make it difficult to read the text inside the cells. Now, alignment has everything to do with how things are aligned in the cells. For this, I actually want to go between rows 4 and 5 and make the row taller. The reason I want to do this, notice that I'm hovering over row 4 and 5. My mouse pointer turns into an arrow that points up and down, and I can drag down. This will make my row taller. Each cell is like a box, so you actually have a left, center, and right alignment, and also a top, middle, and bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight row 4 by just clicking on the number 4. Remember, this will select everything in that row through the entire sheet that I'm on. Then I'm going to come to the alignment group. On the alignment group, you'll see that on the bottom I have left, center, and right alignments that I can use. I'm going to put the numbers in the center. And then I have top, middle, and bottom. And I can use these to align something directly in the center of the cells. Now, in addition to that, you can also do alignments that are at a tilt. For this, I'm going to actually go in and make row 3 taller by dragging it down. Then I'm going to highlight again cells B3 through G3. Up on that same alignment group, directly to the right-hand side of the bottom alignment, you'll see a lowercase a and b button with an arrow pointing up to the right. This allows you to actually tilt text inside the cells and put them at an angle. It's kind of fun, but again, make sure your cells or your row is tall enough and your cells are wide enough for this to happen. Finally, cell borders. Now, it looks like I have borders turned on in my spreadsheet, but these are actually grid lines, and they don't print by default. To apply borders, I need to come in and highlight the cells I want to apply the borders to, and then directly to the left of the paint can, I'll see the borders button. When I click on it, it provides me with different borders that I can apply. I just select the border I want, click on it, and then when I click away, I'll see that border applied to the cells. This is a border that will print. As always, try this out in one of the practice files or a workbook. Welcome back. Let's talk about formatting values or numbers inside of cells. And also, one of my favorite tools to copy formats called the Format Painter or the Format Paintbrush. And right now I'm in practice file format 2. Feel free to use it to follow along. Let's talk about foreign command values and numbers. First of all, you'll see that in this spreadsheet, values are always at the right. Remember that values include dates. And up here in this spreadsheet, in cell B2, I actually have a date. And if I make the column a little bit wider, you'll notice that on the ribbon. When you click on it, it will automatically apply a $sign and 2 decimal places to all those values. Again, if you don't want the decimal places, notice that on the right-hand side of the group, you have the ability to both increase and decrease decimals. Just be careful with this, because if your values do have decimals and you remove them, the values will round up. I also want to apply the same format to my cells B7 all the way over to G13. So again, I'm going to select the values and go over and click on the $sign and apply a currency format to all those values in my spreadsheet. Now what about dates? Right now, if I look at cell B2, I've made it a little bit wider, the column, to see the whole date. Right now, this is called the short date format. When I update this, I'm going to come in and go right to the drop-down arrow next to the current field where it says date, because Excel recognizes this. And you'll notice that if I come in, it's already showing me a short date format that I currently have, but I can update this to a long date format. Now what's common when you do this is that you're going to see number signs inside the cell. Anytime there are numbers in the cell and Microsoft Excel cannot show you all the information, it just shows you number signs because it never wants to show you incomplete information. A quick trick to fix this is to come right up and click between the columns where you see those number signs, and it will auto-fit the content so that you can see it. So now I have the long date format. Now what if I have a format, for example, these cells here don't have decimal places, and I'd like all the cells below to also not have decimal places. This is a great way to use the format painter or the format paintbrush. The first step is to select the cells that have the format that you like by going up and clicking on the format painter. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to highlight the cells. And notice when I do this, it makes my cell or my mouse pointer look like a paintbrush. I'm going to highlight the cells that I want to copy the format to. When I release my mouse, it will have copied the formatting for me. This is a tool that you can use also in Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, and I use it all the time. If you don't want it to turn off, double click on it. Now as always, try this in a spreadsheet of your own by again updating number and date formats and also playing with the format painter.
My name's Enrique. A little thing I love about Chick-fil-A sliced deluxe sandwich is the chicken, the nice it's perfect for me for spiciness.
Side out, freeze it.
Welcome back. Let's talk about conditional formatting and merge and center. Right now I have practice file format open. Feel free to use it to try this as we go. First of all, on cell A1, I'd like to merge and center that title. I'm going to come in and highlight all the cells that I'd like to make into one. So this is cells A1 through G1. One of my very favorite buttons, the merge and center button, is on the
Claire on the left,
ribbon,
37.
in the alignment group right under the wrap text or next to the wrap text button. When you click on this button, it takes cell A1 and merges it so all the other cells, A1 through G1, will become part of it, and it centers the content that was in cell A1. It's a fantastic way to center your title at the top floor. And the next thing that I want to do is I want to apply conditional formatting. Conditional formatting is a way to use pop inside of cells with formatting. I'm going to come in and highlight cells B7 over to G10, basically all of the expenses in the spreadsheet. Then to apply the conditional format, from my home ribbon tab, I'm going to come to the conditional formatting button. There are different kinds of conditional formats. We're going to try out a couple. The most common type is called highlight cell rules. This allows you to have something formatted in your spreadsheet based on a criteria. For example, something greater than, less than, between, or equal to. You can even do conditional formats that are based on text contained in the cell. We're going to start with greater than. I'm going to come in and say any value that is greater than 5,000. You type that in, then click on OK. You'll see that the conditional format turns the text and also the color in the cell red. Now, can you do multiple conditional formats? Yeah. Let's try a different one. For this, I'm going to go down to row 13 and highlight cells B13 over to G13. I'm going to go back up to the Home Ribbon tab in the Styles group and select conditional formatting. This time, I'm going to come down and show you a data bar.
11-3.
This is a conditional format where based on the data inside the cells, the values, the color will go further over. And you can see that there are different colors. So in this case, I'm using the green gradient fill. You'll see that for a cell that has a higher value, the color goes further over. Now, how do you edit a conditional format or clear it?
11-4.
I'm going to re-highlight the cells in row 13 where I applied the conditional format. Go back to conditional formatting and go here to the bottom of the menu to manage. Here in this box, I'll see the current conditional format that I selected. If I wanted to edit it, I could select it and click on Edit Rule. To clear a conditional format, the easiest way is to highlight the part of the spreadsheet where the conditional format is located, go back to the conditional formatting button, and come down to Clear Rules. Just be careful that you select Clear Rules from selected cells, because if you hit Clear Rules from the entire sheet, we all know what's going to happen. You're going to lose all your conditional formats in the workbook. As always, try this out. It's a great way to make things pop or highlight things in cells. Welcome back. Let's talk about how we can easily see the top of our screen with the bottom in a large workbook. This practice file I've opened is called Navigate 1. Feel free to use it to follow along. And one of the challenges of Excel is how big a workbook can be. This particular workbook, if I scroll down in this sheet that I'm on, there are only about 200 rows, but I would still spend a significant amount of time scrolling between the top and bottom if I'm trying to remember what my column headers are. Very common issue in Excel. Microsoft has two different ways to deal with this issue. The first one is to split your screen. To do this, we're going to go up to the View ribbon. This ribbon is all about adjusting the view of your workbook sheet that you're in, and come to the Window group. On the right-hand side top of the Window group, you should see a button that says Split. And what this does is it puts these gray lines in your workbook. Basically, what you're doing is splitting your workbook into what are like window screens. There's a vertical line that you can adjust by just resting your mouse pointer on it and dragging it to the right and left, and a horizontal line as well. Now what you'll see now is that you have two sets of vertical scroll bars and two sets of horizontal scroll bars. So what I can do here is stay at the top, in this top portion of the split, and scroll to the very bottom. And I can also be at the far left in one of the splits and the far right in the other. So I'm able to align the spreadsheet and see it in different portions. If you don't want one of the splits, for example, if you don't need the horizontal split, you can rest your mouse pointer on it, drag it down into the bottom of your screen, holding down your left mouse button as you do it. You can basically just get rid of a split you don't want. To turn the splits off, you go back up to the ribbon and click on the split button, and it will remove the split. Now, I prefer a tool called Freeze Panes. This allows you to either freeze the top row on your workbook sheet or the top left column, or pick an apex point of a cell. For me, I'm going to go up and click in cell C2. I'm currently at the very top of this sheet. And then I'm going to go back to the View ribbon tab, back to the Window group, and look for Freeze Panes. There's actually a little snowflake on the button. When you click on it, it'll give you three different choices. Now in this case, I'm not trying to freeze the very top row, even though I am, but I'm not trying to freeze the very far left column. I'm actually trying to freeze from cell C2 above and to the left of that point. So I'm going to pick instead the option at the top that says Freeze Panes. This means anything above and to the left of the cell that I have selected will be frozen in place. Now it's kind of hard to tell that this has happened, but notice if I look at the right-hand side of the spreadsheet, I see a thin black line that goes above row 2. And also if I look at everything to the left of column C, I can see the same thing. Now to really see this in action, you need to start scrolling down. So as I scroll down, I'm going to see that everything above row 2 stays fixed in place. The exciting part is when you start scrolling to the right, because again, I didn't say the first column, I said everything to the left of cell C2. So when I start scrolling, column A and B stay in place, but everything else is scrollable. So it's like frozen the spreadsheet in place. Turn it off, go back up to the Freeze Panes button again, and say Unfreeze Panes, and it turns off. As always, try this out in your own workbooks. These are tools that you'll use every day.
So, I didn't think any of that stuff would come to you. I saw how easily it came to my hair every time I drive. It only takes a minute. And now, the heavy-duty cloths are extra for a
also customize these add shortcuts into your own. Now, the quick access toolbar is actually one of the finer toolbars still left in Microsoft Excel. It's important because on mine, this is where the undo and redo buttons are. Remember that if you go to the right-hand side of the quick access toolbar, you'll see a line with an arrow pointing down. When you click on this button, you'll see frequent shortcuts that you can add. I'm a big fan of shortcuts like the print, read, print, and the spell check. Also, undo and redo are usually pinned to your quick access toolbar for you. If you see a shortcut that you want, or I should say, if you see a shortcut that's not here, feel free to come down to the commands and add it. All you do to add the command is left click on it, and you'll see the button Get Added. And these commands will always be here no matter what workbook file you open. To remove them, you just go back to the same arrow here, come in and left click on the particular command you want to take off. But it's a great way to again add your own shortcuts to Excel. Don't forget also that the quick access toolbar can be located above the ribbons, or you can come in and say show below the ribbon. In this case, it will be placed right above the formula bar. I like to keep it in the top left corner, that way it doesn't get hidden, but it's up to you where you put it. Now, what other options do you have? We already talked about this, but I highly recommend learning a few critical keyboard shortcuts to help you with Excel. I just want to share a couple of my favorites. One of the first ones is to be able to select the entire sheet and all the data that's on it. To do this, I'm going to do Control A on my keyboard. And you'll notice the cell I was clicked in stays white, but everything else gets highlighted. Another way to do this is to go between column A, the letter, and row number 1. You see a rectangle, and this does the same thing. It selects all the content. Another great keyboard shortcut that we already talked about on a PC is to do Control Home. And remember, the Home button is located directly next to the page up on Windows PC keyboard. This will always take you back to cell A1. Another great keyboard shortcut is Control End. Now, the End key, END like the end of a book, is located by the page down button. This will take you to the last point where someone typed inside your sheet. So Control Home and Control End can take you between the top and the bottom of your spreadsheet. One more good keyboard shortcut to know is how to select all the data where there's typed information in a row or column. I'm going to come to the top of column G and click in cell G1. Now if I scroll down, this goes all the way down to row 200. It takes quite a while to scroll down to it. Sorry, because I'm making you seasick while I scroll to it. But in this cell, I'm now going to click, or on my keyboard, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Down arrow. Control-Shift-Down arrow will select everything in that column to the last cell where something is typed. It's a fantastic shortcut that will save you a lot of time having to drag and select. To unselect the content, you just click. The same thing will work for rows. If you click in a cell, I'm going to select cell, in this case A10, and then do Control-Shift arrow to the right. It selects everything inside a row. So again, those keyboard shortcuts are Control-A, Control-Home, Control-End, and then Control-Shift. Use your arrow keys to select all the content in a row or a column where there is typed information. Try these out in a workbook of your own because these few keyboard shortcuts will save you hours of time. Now, are there more? There are many. So feel free to explore more Excel keyboard shortcuts because they will save you so much time. Hi everyone, let's take a couple minutes and review the most basic formulas or functions of Excel. So a formula is a type of calculation that Microsoft Excel knows how to do, and there are many. They're called functions. Now in my spreadsheet that I have open, it's a practice file called Formulas 1. I want to review some of the most basic functions that are part of Excel. The first one we want to do is a sum function. Sum means to add. In this case, I want to add up cells B6 down to B9 and place the answer in cell B10. When you create a function, you always start at the end. So I've clicked in the cell where I want the answer to be. To help me create the functions, I'm going to use one of my most favorite buttons in Excel called the Auto Sum button. Now the Auto Sum button is located in a couple of places, but one of the most common ones is on the Formulas ribbon. Since we're creating a formula, it's a good place to go. You'll see the Auto Sum button is the second button in from the left, and it looks like a sum. Now when you're just doing a sum, you can actually it automatically assumes you're creating a sum function. Now let's look at the syntax of the function. You'll see that every function begins with a sign, the name of the function, and then in parentheses, the range of cells that are being calculated. You'll always see the first cell, and then a colon, and the last cell. You'll also see the formula that are being formulated. I'm going to hit enter, and we'll see that it's added up the cells B6 through B9. Now, because this formula is complete, I can click on it, go to the bottom right corner, and you want to be cautious here because you don't want your mouse pointer to look like a white plus sign or 4 black arrows pointing up, down, and to the right. It needs to look like a crosshair when you're aiming at something. This is called the autofill button. Hold down my left mouse button and drag that formula from cell B10 over to G10. The fill handle copies what's in a cell. Well, in cell B10, I had a formula, so it's copying the formula. But the exciting part is that if I click in these new formulas that have been created and look at the formula bar, I can see that as I've copied the formulas over, they're now copying relative to their position. So they're updating to a new range of cells. Let's try another common formula. This is an average. I'm going to come in and click in cell B12. Now remember, to find an average, you add up all the values and divide by their number. It's not fun math, so let's let Excel do it for us. The auto sum button can also help us with averages. What I'm going to do is click on the arrow that's either under or next to the auto sum button after I've clicked in cell B12, because that's where I want my resulting answer to go, and I'll pick average. The only problem we're going to see is that the range of cells is incorrect, because I only want my range to be B6 through B9. So what I can do while it still has the box open, I can highlight the correct cells and update to the correct range and hit enter. And I'll see that it will now give me the average. Again, I can now click on cell B12 where I see my answer, go to the bottom right hand corner, get the crosshair, and drag it to the right. Let's try a couple more common functions. I now want to look at the max function, or max. Its goal is to look at a list of values and return the highest value. You can also use the auto sum button for this. So I'm going to click in cell B13, go up and click on the arrow of the auto sum button, and pick max. Again, it's probably going to select the wrong set of cells for your range, so highlight B6 through B9, and then hit enter. Again, this is one that you can use that fill handle to drag over to cell, in this case, G13. Now, the min function that's located in cell B14 does the opposite of the max function. It finds the lowest value. So again, I'm going to go up and click on the arrow next to auto sum, and this time I'll pick min. Now, it might select the wrong range, so highlight cells B6 through B9 to correct the range and enter in your formula. Then go to the bottom right hand corner and drag it to the right to find the lowest value in that range of cells. The final function we want to try out is the count function. This will just take a list of values or even text and tell you how many things there are. So if you have 4 cells selected, the answer will be 4, but it's still very commonly used in many functions. So I'm going to go up again after I've clicked in cell B15, click on the arrow next to auto sum, and this time pick count numbers. Then I will select the correct range, which is B6 through B9, and hit enter. And again, I had 4 cells selected, so the answer to the count function is 4, but I can copy that formula over. So remember, with these 5 basic functions, what we're doing is reviewing what a function looks like, what a range looks like, and how you can use the auto sum button to help you create these functions.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
As always, be careful with the auto sum button because it's very common for it to select an incorrect range. But while you're using it, you can correct that range. Using these tools, you can start introducing yourself to the basic functions of Microsoft Excel.
Now, one left.
Welcome back. Let's talk about one of my favorite types of functions in Excel, the if statement. There's a practice file for this called functions-practice. Feel free to open it up and use it. In this spreadsheet, you'll see that I have months, sales reps, and their totals. And I need to reps that did not make that threshold. And I only want to calculate their bonus if the threshold was met. This is the perfect use case for an if statement. An if statement needs to have a logical test that can be set to true or false. I'm going to put in my spreadsheet in cell O3. Now to help me do my if statement, I'm going to use a tool called the insert function button. You can get to the insert function box by going up to the formula bar, and on the left-hand side, you'll see a small fx. This is the doorway to the insert function box. And the first thing I need to do is go into Microsoft Excel's library of functions and locate the if function. The top portion, I'm going to type in the name of the function I'm looking for. And on the right, there is a red button that I'll click on, and it will take me into the library below and find any functions that have the word if in them or are close to the spelling I've used. As soon as I see the function I want, I'm going to select it and then go down to the bottom of the box and click on it. So now that I've selected the if function out of Excel's function library, it shows me the 3 different portions of the formula that I need. The first thing is a logical test. Well, in this case, my logical test is, was the amount in sales total in cell N3 greater than or equal to 7 million? It's really important that I count the correct number of zeros for this, because if I have too many zeros, it won't calculate correctly. I don't need to use dollars and cents because it will automatically format those for me. Now, if that's true, then I need to take the sales total that's in cell N3 and multiply it by 5%. A decimal if you prefer here, but I like percentages. If that's false, I don't want it to calculate a bonus, and I also just want it to tell the person no bonus. So anytime you use a text string inside a formula, you need to come in and enter it in quotes. So I'm just going to put in the words no bonus in quotes. So again, my logical test has 3 arguments, or I should say my if statement. Logical test is their sales amount over 7 million. If that's true, then multiply that by 5%. If it's false, just put in the words no bonus in the cell. I'm going to click on OK, and based on my function, now if you look at the formula bar, you can see the function, how it starts with an equal sign if, and then includes the logical test is N3 greater than or equal to 7 million, then a comma followed by what to do if that's true and what to do if that's false. And it looks like this person sold over $8.3 million in products, so they did meet the threshold for the bonus, and we see it. Now, is this a formula that can be copied? It is. So I'm going to click in cell O3, go to the bottom right-hand corner, get the black crosshair, and drag it all the way from O3 down to, in this case, O27. And what I want you to see is anytime a sales rep has less than 7 million, the formula goes to the false portion and just puts the words no bonus in the cells. These are a super fun type of function, and it's very common in an if statement where you see the false portion of the formula or another entire if statement being nested in there up to several levels so that your formulas can become very complicated.
9-4.
Let's try out 2 of my favorite functions in one. And it's actually 2 different functions, sum if and average if. These are a great way to only sum or average content based on the matching criteria that's also in the workbook. Now there's a practice file for this called sum if average if practice. Feel free to open it up and use it to follow along. I'm going to start by clicking in cell K2. This is where my first function will go, the sum if function. I'm also going to suggest that you use the insert function box the first time you do this formula because it does have a couple of different pieces. So I'm going to go to the left-hand side of my formula bar and click on the FX button. This will take us into the insert function box. At the top, I'm going to type in the name of the function I want, which is sum if, no words or no spaces in between the 2 words, and I'll click on Go on the right-hand side. Make sure you pick sum if and not sum if s when you select the function name. Double click on it and it takes us to the second portion of the insert function box, which is the function arguments. I'm starting with a range. This is the group of cells that I'm going to be highlighting. You can see right here that in my case it's column. I'm not going to include cell E1 because it's a column heading.
5-10. 5,
To select
11.
the cells, I'm going to click in cell E2 and then do the keyboard shortcut Control Shift down arrow. This will select all the cells to the bottom of the spreadsheet that are in that column where my criteria is. My criteria is going to be based on the fact that I only want to sum those destinations that are to Cancun. Now, what is my criteria? My criteria is that the destination is Cancun. Because it's text, I have to contain it inside quotes. So for my criteria in
13.5.
quotes, I will type the word Cancun, and I will make sure I spell it correctly. My third line in the function arguments box is my sum range. This is the column that I will be summing. In this case, it will be column
Second,
H.
13,
I'm not going to
6.
use cell H1 because again, it's a column header and it's not a value. So I'll click in cell H2, and on my keyboard, I will select cells H2 down to H200 using the keyboard shortcut Control Shift down arrow. So here we can see the three arguments of the function. My range, which contains my criteria, so it cells E2 to H200. And then what I'm
713.
summing, which is H2 to H200. Now I can already see that the formula will work because in the bottom left-hand corner of the function arguments box, it tells me my formula results. Then I'll click on OK. We'll see right here that it's showing me that if I were to sum all the
714,
Cancun
game ball.
destinations, and here I can see Cancun because I've sorted the destination column. If I come over and also select the totals in page and then just highlight them, I can see that down on my, again, status bar, if I come over and look at the auto calculator, it shows me that yes, that was
814 game ball, Liam.
2952. Now let's do the same thing in cell N2, but rather than a sum function, we'll do an average if. So I've clicked where I want the formula to go, and then I'll come up
914
and
game
use
ball.
the insert function box. This time the name of the function is average if, all one word, no spaces. I'll click on the go button. Once I've located average if down in the select the function list column. This one is very similar to the sum if function. You need the range where your criteria is located. This time it's going to be Boston. So again, it will be the same range I used. I'll use Control Shift down arrow to select E2 through E2.
1014,
not including
right.
E1 because it's
Game ball.
Now my criteria is that it's Boston. So in quotes on the criteria row, I'll type Boston as the destination that I want averaged. Then in my average range,
15, 10,
again, I'm going
game
to
2,
average
the
H2
quick.
down to H200. So I'm using the Control Shift down arrow keyboard shortcut to select that range. And in the bottom left-hand corner, I can see if the function's going to work. When I click on OK, you'll see that there are quite a few decimals included with this particular formula answer. So I'm going to come up and just format this as a currency to get rid of some of those decimals. Now it looks like my answer is $530.91. I can again come into the spreadsheet, highlight all the Boston destinations, and go over and highlight the total row as well, and then just highlight the ones that will be for Boston. If I come in and look at the average for that group of cells, you'll see that down on the status bar, it rounds it up to 531, but that is very close to 530 because my status bar doesn't do decimals. These are two fantastic functions where you can only sum based on criteria or average based on criteria. And they combine some of our very favorite functions, sum, if, and average.
He's perfect.
We're gonna need a flight.
Travel like a pro with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times points on flights and prepaid hotels with AmeriCtravel.com.
Howdy, I want to show you some of my favorite functions for inputting data in a cell when you need to take just a portion of information in a cell to use somewhere else. These functions are called left, right, and mid. And there's a practice file with that same name, left-right-mid, you can use to follow along. Now I'm going to click in cell D2. Notice that to the left I have a customer location and code. It's the first 4 characters of that cell that I need to put over in cell D2. And the left function is a great way to do this. To start, I'm going to hit an equal sign and type the word left. Then you'll see that as soon as I come in and double click on the formula autocomplete, it tells me that I need 2 things. I need the cell with the characters in it, which is cell C2, then a comma and a number of characters. It's captured the first
And out.
4 characters, in
One
this
left.
case it's a code, that give me the customer location code. Now this is a function, so if I click on cell D2, go to the bottom right hand corner and get that black crosshair,
Two
I can
left.
drag it down, and you'll see that it brings the customer location code in for me. And that's the left function. Now the right function does the same thing, but rather for the far left side of the cell, it does the right. So I'm going to go to column F this time to the office code cell. You'll see that in column E, I have office names, but I also have a code at the end of each of those. So here I'm going to type in an equal sign, cell F2, and type in the name of the function, which is right. Again, you'll notice the same thing comes up with the
Second,
formula autocomplete.
right
So I'm going
side.
to double click on it to get my opening
2-1.
currency. And here underneath, you're seeing that it's telling me, again, I need to provide the cell that has the text in it that I need to return characters from. So I'm going to click in cell E2, and then I need to do a comma and tell it the number of characters from the right-hand side of the cell that I want to return. It's 4. We don't need that closing parenthesis
And out,
because there's
2
only
all.
one set, so I'll hit enter. And you'll see in this case, it's returned the 4 digits from the right-hand side of the cell, which is 1, 3, 4, 3. This is again a function, so if I click in cell F2, come to the bottom right-hand corner, get the black crosshair, I can drag it down. Now the final function I want to show you is called the mid function. For this
3-2.
one, I'm going to go over to column L under customer rate. Now in column K, I have some pretty complicated decimal places that represent the customer satisfaction rate. I want to simplify that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in cell L2
Second,
and use the
3 all.
mid function. This function, we're just going to type in mid after the equal sign, allows you to select a cell, and it can contain values or characters, either one.
4,
You
3.
need to give it a little bit more information on this. So I'm now going to go up and actually select the FX button so that you can see the 2 additional arguments. You need to tell it where the characters need to begin. For what we're doing, I want to capture
And out.
stuff after the decimal
4 all.
place. So I'm going to tell it as soon as the decimal place starts, after 2 characters in, I'd like it to return 3 characters. And then I'll click on OK. And you'll see based on that, it's doing exactly what I said. Go to the second character in and return 3 characters after that point. This is also a function, so I'll drag it down. And now I'm getting a little bit easier information about what the customer satisfaction rate is with fewer decimal places. Now these are 3 functions, but they are all, again, functions. I want to show you another tool that actually works a little bit faster and can accomplish some of the same things. I'm going to drag over to the right. In column B, I have my customer names. Now what if I just wanted the first name of the customer and not the last name of the customer? I'm going to right click on column C and insert a new column that I'm just going to call first, or the first name. We'll call it first name. Then underneath, I'm going to type in the first name that I see next to, again,
Good
cell
rally.
2, which is Angelina. Now I need to create a
Liam on the
pattern
left,
for Excel to
4, 5.
understand. This is using a tool called Flash Fill. It's also important that you spell it exactly as it appears in the cells to the left. Now it looks like right now my computer is not picking up on this pattern. So to force it to
Final.
recognize the pattern, I have 2 options. I can do Control E on my keyboard, or if I go up to the Data Running tab and come to the Data Tools group, I can also click on the
6,
light
5.
bulb button, which is called Flash Fill. And this helps Excel to recognize the pattern that I'm asking it to take out the first names from each of the cells to the left and put them in column C for me so that I don't have to use a function to accomplish this. So this will allow you to combine information and also
And out.
separate it as I've just showed
6
you.
all.
Try this out because sometimes it's faster than trying to use a function.
Don't just ride the index, seek to outperform it with Fidelity Active ETFs. Learn more at fidelity.com/active ETFs. Before
6,
investing in
7.
any exchange-traded fund, you should consider its investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Contact Fidelity for a prospectus and offering schedule, or if available, a summary prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully. While active ETFs offer the potential to outperform an index, these products may more significantly trail an index as compared with passive ETFs. Fidelity Brokerage Services LLC, member NYSE,
7
SIPC.
all.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the count function and how you can combine it with the if function to make it really useful. The count function by itself is probably the simplest function in
Handout.
Excel. It does
8,
exactly what it
7.
sounds like. It counts how many of something are in cells. We want to combine it though to count based on criteria. This is where you take the count function and an if statement and put them together. I'm in a practice file right now called count if
9-7.
S. Please open it up to follow along. I'm going to look in cell K2. My use case is I need to count how many sales reps have received a commission. I can do that if I only do the count if cell I or anything in column I has the word
Second.
yes. So it's a great use case for a count if. We are going to use the insert function button to help us with this. So I've clicked in cell F2, and I'm going to go over next to my formula bar and click on the FX button. Now I need to type at the top the name of the function that I want to use, which is count if all one word. Click on the go button, and then for this first one, make sure you use count if and not count if s. There's only one letter
10,
difference.
8.
Now again, my range are going to be cells I2 to the bottom. So I'm going to click in cell I2 and then use my Control-Shift down arrow to get everything down to the bottom selected. Now for my criteria, as if the word yes is located in the cell. So I'm just going to type the word yes, and you'll see
10
right
out.
here it's telling me that there are 102.
9,
So I'm
10.
going to click on OK. And based on that, yes being found in certain cells and no in others, it's done a count for me. Now for the commission, no, I want to do the same thing. This
10 all.
time though, again, I'm going to come in and type in count if for my function name. The first thing I'll need is my criteria, and again, that will be column I, cells I2 down to the bottom.
Second.
So I'm using that
10,
Control-Shift
11.
down arrow. This time I'm not using the insert function button. Then my criteria this time is if no commission was paid, in quotes, I'll type the word no. Then, because the formula only has one set of open and closing parentheses, I'll hit enter, and you see that there's a 97. And really, this is correct.
11 all.
Now, if I come to cell M2, it gets trickier. I only wanted to do a count if the location or the destination in this case is St. Louis and a commission was paid. So you can see here that I've got two different things going on. And as I scroll through the different locations, we'll see as we come down that St. Louis is one of the destinations that's in column. So, to do this one, I'm going to come in and use the insert function button. So I click in cell M2, I'm going to go up to my FX button, and this time I'm going to type in the word count if S. It's really important to get that S at the end, because this is what allows you to have two criteria in your formula. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in and select my first criteria, which in this case is going to be whether a commission was paid. So I'm going to come in and do my I2 down to the bottom again and type the word yes. Now you'll notice that as soon as I do my first criteria range, it opens up to give me the
Handouts.
commission one. For
12,
this one, it's
11.
going to be, again, is the location like we talked about, or the destination, St. Louis. So for this one, my criteria range will be cells E2 down to the bottom. I'm using that Control-Shift down arrow again to get that. Now my criteria is going to be St. Louis. I need to put in quotes, and I also need to be sure it's spelled the same way it is in the spreadsheet. And I can double check that right here. I can see the spelling. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And you'll see that based on what I did right there, if I come down and look at St. Louis, if I were to, again, have the spreadsheet sorted in ascending order, which I do, I could come over and I could actually check this and count
13,
how many
12.
St. Louis yeses I have. We'll do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I look at my function answer, it's correct. So again, it's only counting if yes, they had a commission, and yes, the destination was St. Louis.
14, 12, game ball.
And you'll see them used a lot in conjunction with other functions that only count when certain criteria set. Thank you so much for
15,
joining us
12,
for this
game
part
to the
1 of our
napkin.
Excel for Finance and Accounting. In this course, we've started at the very beginning by how to navigate in Excel, and then we jumped into formatting, basic functions like sum, average, min, max, and even count. And then we jumped into more advanced functions like being able to use sum if, average if, and even count if and the round function. Join us for the next portion of this course, the part 2, where we're going to explore more advanced functions like VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, and even functions that you will use as you start creating your own financial statements, and some of the specialty charts that come with Microsoft Excel.
Thanks for watching.
To earn certificates and watch our courses without ads, check out learnitanytime.com.
Foods that are grown sustainably, delivered fresh today. Download the app.
Subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
Phonetically. Not like, do I have my stuff
Files and instructor users of this tutorial available for free.
Mentally, yes, I'm very Yeah,
My name is Hashim, and I'm a coaching trainer and also subject matter expert with over 25 years experience of using and training Excel to students, customers, and clients all over the world. And I am very much looking forward to
Games are tied,
this
1
course
all.
for you. And what a course
Love all.
we have for you. If you're looking to upskill and move out of the catch-all intermediate Excel user category and become an absolute pro, then this is the course for you. And we're going to dive straight
And
into
out.
the good stuff first.
One
We're going
love.
to start out by taking a look at the new dynamic array functions available in Excel 2021. So things like group, sort by,
Side out.
and so
1 all.
more. We'll see how to combine functions together and create complex lookups. We'll dive into the world of statistical and functions and explore functions
2-1.
like round, aggregate, rank, and count rank. And if your thirst for formulas is not quite at that stage, I'm going to show you two brand new game-changing Excel functions, let and lambda. The latter
Right.
lets you create your own functions without
2-1.
the need for any programming knowledge. It's truly brilliant. Now, of course, no advanced course would be complete without at least taking a minor tour
3-1.
through some of the more advanced features of pivot tables and pivot chart techniques. And I'm going to show you how you can add more interaction into your worksheets by using things like form controls. Importing data from external sources, transforming it into a query, and we'll also predict the future with forecasting and learn the basics of automating
And out.
and tedious tasks.
3,
using macros
2-3.
and VBA. So there is so much for us to cover. Now all of the files that I use in the videos are available for you to download in the course files folder. So if you want to follow along with me, then you can.
2-4.
Also, at the end of each section, there is an exercise so you can practice the skill you learn. So with all that said, and without further ado, grab yourself a drink,
And out.
I will see you in the
5-2.
first lesson.
My Capital One team made it easy to redeem your credit card rewards in stores like RDS. We built an API that is serverless, scalable, and reusable.
Really? Want to test the water?
The whole tracking thing is still enough. That's technology at Capital One.
6-2.
The first exercise in this course is less of an exercise and more of a way to set ourselves up for success in this course. So I just want you to check if you have prerequisites before we begin. The first thing I want to make sure you do is download the course and the exercise files to your PC.
6-3, Meredith.
You'll find them in a folder within this course. Just make sure that you save them off to a folder on your PC that's easily accessible. The second thing is the skill level of this course. This course is very much designed for advanced Excel users, so we won't be covering a lot of the basic things. So, basic formulas, things like customizing the quick
4-6.
access toolbar, and using basic functionality like cut, copy, and paste. So make sure you do at least have an intermediate level of knowledge of Excel before attempting to complete this course. And if you want to, we do have Excel 2021 for beginners and features and functionality in the Microsoft 365 version of Excel. So once you've checked all of those things, you are pretty much good to go.
For the next section, you'll want to download the exercise. Click the link below in the video description to get these. You can also scroll through the
5-7
timestamps for each section in this course. If you're enjoying this training, please leave us a comment.
Microsoft Word version of Excel with 6 new functions and a new calculation engine allows us to write one formula and get multiple results. And it really is a game changer because it eliminates the need for CSV to calculate array formulas. And CSV stands for Control Enter. Being able to write a single formula and getting an array of dynamic results means writing fewer formulas, and that also means fewer errors. What it leads to is more trustworthy spreadsheets. So dynamic arrays make formulas much easier to write, and they solve some really hard problems in Excel. And it's by dynamic arrays, and all of the new functions are only available in Excel for Microsoft 365. So if you have a Microsoft 365 subscription, you should have access to these new dynamic arrays, and also in this version of Excel, Excel 2021. And it's part of the Excel contains 6 new functions which leverage the power of dynamic arrays. And you can see those 6 new dynamic array functions listed out on the slide just here. So we have sequence, which will generate an array of sequential numbers. Round array, which will generate an array of random numbers.
9-5.
Which is one of my favourite new dynamic arrays, which will extract values from the store range. We have a sort function, which will sort a range by column. Sort by, which is going to sort a range by another range or another array. And finally, we have the filter function, which will filter data and return matching records. So what we'll focus on in this section is just going through each of these new dynamic arrays so you understand how they work and how they fit to you. Before we begin, it's important to understand spheres and arrays because this is probably going to be new terminology for you.
11-5.
So, formulas that return multiple values will spill these values directly onto the worksheet. Now, that might not make too much sense to you at the moment, so let's take a look at a couple of examples.
12-5.
So, let's show you an example of just a regular formula, first of all, or a standard formula. So, in this first little table, we have some employee names, and what we want to do is I'm just going to turn the department from the cell table that we have over on the right-hand side. So what I could do here is just a very simple VLOOKUP. So we're going to type VLOOKUP, and the lookup value is going to be employee name. We're going to look up that value in this table over here. And you can see, because I've named my table employee location, that's a formula as opposed to the cell references. We need to provide the column index number, so what information do we want to return? We want to return the department, which is column 2, and allocate approximately an exact match of the employee name. Well, I'm doing an exact match, so I can put 0 or false on the end here. So I'm just going to go with 0, let's close the bracket, enter, and it pulls back IT as the department. And what I can do here is just drag this down to fill out those other departments for the rest of the employees. Now this is what we call a standard Excel formula. When we construct it, the answer just appears in one cell. And if we want to copy that to other cells, we have to use a fill handle or other methods in Excel in order to do that. Dynamic array formulas work in a very different way, which you're going to see in a moment. Before we get on to that, let's just take a look at one other type of formula, and that is a CSV array. And this This might be something that you're already aware of. The CSE part stands for Shift Enter. Because it's always in Excel, if you want to perform multiple calculations within one formula, we need to press Control Shift Enter to make that into an array formula. This is something that historically many people have found quite confusing. So let's have a look at a CSE array so you can understand exactly what they do. This whole table just so far, overall total is of all of the products. This would involve two different calculations because I need to multiply the quantity by the price for the first product. I need to do that for all of these.
So we're playing that out on the previous point. It's 12-5. Meredith is serving on the right.
Do this calculation all in one go using a CSE array. So what we're going to do here is press equals sum. And what we're going to do is select all of the quantities multiplied by all of the prices.
12-5.
To get this to work and to calculate correctly, we will need to use a CSE array, which means we need to press Control Shift Enter and Enter. So let's do that. Control Shift Enter and we get that total. So CSE Control Shift Enter allows us to combine multiple calculations in one formula. With CSE arrays, you can always tell if you do have a CSE formula. Because if you look at the formula bar, you'll notice that the formula is encased in these curly brackets. So that tells you that it's a formula. Both of these examples that we've looked at, this is going to give you a better understanding of how spills work in dynamic arrays. And what I'm going to show you is a very basic example of a filter dynamic array.
6:13.
So I'm going to move through this section fairly quickly, but don't worry if you don't really understand what I'm doing, because we do have an entire lesson dedicated to this filter function a bit later on. And we'll go through it slowly and we'll break it down.
7:13.
Understanding this lesson is just the concept of how spills work. So what we're going to do is we're going to return the employee, the department, and the block in this table, depending on what we have selected in column K. So we're going to use one of the new dynamic array formulas, and that is filter. So let's type in. We need to select our array, which is going to be everything in this table. And then I need to tell Excel what I want to do.
9:13.
So I'm just going to filter for all of the employees in the marketing department. So we're going to select the department array. We have in cell K4.
9:14 game
There are lots of
ball.
other things we can do with filter and lots of other arguments we can use, but just for this basic example, let's close up our bracket and enter. Notice the results spill into multiple cells. So that is one formula in one cell and those two and this is effectively a CSE array because we can do multiple calculations in one formula. The results are spilled in into multiple cells. If I was to change this to, let's say, those results will update. So
59 game 2 to quit. They lead 2 games to 1.
Notice that we get this blue border around the outside. This is effectively showing us what our spill range is. That is the terminology. And this spill range will expand and contract when necessary when new values are added or removed. So if I was to add another name to the bottom of this table, everything should update. So let's do that. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. Let's just add Adam, Lacey, and we're going to put him in sales. And what we should see is that this employees table will update. And there we go, he's added into the end. Let's put him in the east block, like so. Let's take a look at a couple of other examples of spills. We jump across to the spills worksheet and notice that we have another table just here. And that's just listing out some first names and some last names of different employees. Now notice that the first names are in lowercase and the last names are in what we call proper name column to be in proper case. And I also want to sort my system names into alphabetical order, A to Z. So the first thing I'm going to do is put this data into a table, Control T. Let's click on OK.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell? Thanks, have a good one. Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses can grow. Grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/YouTube audio. Shopify.com/YouTube audio.
For this example, we'll just click on table 2, and let's tidy up this data. So we're going to combine two things here. We're going to use another array called sort by, and we're also going to make that first name column proper text. So let's type in proper as well.
Sorry.
And we're
I'm
going to
being distracted.
everything we have.
Quickly, 2 games to 1, love all.
I'm now back into my sort by formula. So I can choose which column I want to sort by. So I want to sort by last name, comma, and do I want to sort by ascending or descending order? I want to sort by ascending. Close the sort by, enter. Now take a look at those results.
One love.
It's converted that first name into uppercase. The results are split across both columns. It's also sorted the list by the last name A to Z. Now one other thing to notice is if you wanted to go and edit this formula, if I click on the cell down here and the spelling range, the formula is kind of grayed out in the formula bar. You always must go to the first cell that contains the formula in order to edit it. You can double click and you can make your changes. Now one other thing to note here is if I then wanted to do something like maybe a count on these names, let's type in count A. I'm going to select everything in this table. I'm going to select Excel does. Take a look at that notation. There's a hash symbol in there. And what that basically tells us is that we're referencing a dynamic array. Now, if I was to press enter here, I'm going to get a result of 22 because it's counting each of these individual items. Now, that wouldn't be what I would want in this case. I just want to know how many units of stuff we have. So I could go in here and I can do a type of 2, and that's going to be the correct result of 11. Now, what about if I was to add more names to this table?
1-3.
And you'll notice at the bottom here, I just have a little list. So let's drag this up. And because our original data is in the table, that table is going to auto-expand to accommodate those names. Take a look at what's happened just here. We now have a small error in column D. Now, why do we have
And
that?
now,
If you click
4-1.
on it, take a look at the range. If you look at the blue lines around the outside, you can see that because I have another table underneath, it means that in the blue, these results to stand down. So this can easily be fixed simply by moving this table out of the way. So if we pick this up and now I get my spill results. Also notice that my count is updated as well. So everything here is completely
4-2.
So that's kind of how spills work. Hopefully you can now understand that and see the difference between just a standard formula, CSV arrays, and dynamic arrays. In this lesson and the next few lessons, we're going to be taking a closer look at the unique function, because this is such an amazing formula for extracting unique values from a range of cells. And this is something which I always thought should be much simpler than it is in Excel. Previous to the release of this new dynamic function, it can be quite tricky to get a unique list of values from the range. Now, with the introduction of unique, the process is somewhat simpler. So let's start the process by taking a look at a couple of basic examples of how unique works. So in column A, I have a list of countries. And one thing you'll notice about this list of countries those entries
7-2.
are not unique. So we have the UK repeated a few times, we have the USA repeated a few times, so on and so forth. So I just want to extract a unique list of all of the values from the range in column A and use the unique dynamic function. So let's begin cell C3. We're typing equals
Hand out.
and then use unique
3-7.
So let's start to type this in. Notice it comes up on the list when you press that tab key to select it, and we have 3 arguments for this particular function. Now notice that the last 2 are optional because they are in square brackets. And in this first basic example, we're not going to use those optional arguments, we're just going to go for the first one, which is array. So what this
3-8.
basically means is select the range that you want to extract the unique values from. So let's select range A3 to A13. Let's close off a unique function, hit enter, and like magic we now have a unique list that is a lot shorter than our original list. Because we're just seeing the 9 unique country groups. Notice that this is a dynamic function, so we have this blue area around the outside showing our dynamic array range. Notice that I don't have my list as in the table. And if you take a look at the unique formula, you can see it's just referencing the standard cell range A3 to A19. And that will certainly help you putting your data into the table. For example, if this country list updates and it's
Hand
added
out.
another country onto the end,
9-3.
Brazil, and hit enter, notice that my unique list doesn't update. However, if we put this into the table, then notice that when I change anything in column A, or I add new countries to the bottom, this unique list will also update. So let's put this data into a table. Control T. Yes, my table has headers. Let's click on OK. The formatting as it is, that's absolutely fine. Now notice this unique list hasn't automatically updated with the new entry for Brazil, as I'm still referencing just the cell range as opposed to the table. So let's construct a unique list. In let's go for equals unique. This time I'm going to select my range. Notice it's going to give me the table here. Now I didn't rename my table, so it's just called table 1, and then we have the
10-3.
column heading in those square brackets. So country, I now have Brazil on the bottom, but if I add another countries, let's go for Argentina, hit enter, notice that now updates. So if you really want to make everything completely dynamic, it's always worth putting your data into a table. There's many advantages of using tables in Excel. Definitely one of my favourite things. Now another little tip here. This range of cells is essentially a dynamic array. And you might be able to use the statement calculations, or maybe you just don't want to have a formula underneath this list of values. What we can do
11-3 right
is
side.
throw away the underlying formula, so we just have a unique list as plain text effectively. So how do we do that? Well, we do it using paste special. So I'm going to select my unique list, Control C to copy.
12-3.
If we go up to the Home tab, click the lower half of the Paste button, I'm going to choose to paste values only. So when I click this, let's press Escape to deselect. I now just have this
13-3.
as a plain text list. If we take a look in cell C3, I no longer have the unique formula listed there. Now notice this means that it's not going to do this table anymore, so if I add any other categories into what's in this add Thailand, it's not going to update.
13-4.
Where you just want to use the unique formula to extract the list, but you actually just want to have those plain values. So don't forget about that little paste special trick. Now the final thing I want to show you in this first lesson is how to use unique and
5-13.
together. So maybe I want to count the list of unique entries, so we can combine both functions. So we're going to start out with count
6-13.
because we're going to be counting text, and then we want to go straight into our unique formula. Now I can select this unique list, but I'm going to select this one over here in the table.
7-13.
Let's close off unique, close off the count, hit enter, enter, and it's telling you you have to entries, which would be correct because this unit list contains 11 entries. You can see that information down the step as well. And also a timer, which would make it 12. So we can combine unique with numeric functions in Excel to make it useful and get the results that we want.
King Supers always gives you savings and rewards on top of our low prices. When you download the King Supers app, you can enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. Plus, you can earn fuel points to save up to $1 per gallon and above. So it's easy to save big. King Supers, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Fuel restrictions apply.
Save big on your favorites with the buy 5 or more, save $1 each sale. Simply buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with your card. King Supers, fresh for everyone.
Function can essentially do two things. It can extract unique values or it can extract distinct values. So what is the difference between these two? Well, distinct means
9:14, match ball.
source data one time. So for example, if K is count 3 times in a range, I only need to count once. So we're getting a list of unique values. Whereas unique means show everyone in the source data, but it appears only one time. So a good example of that in our data would be South Africa. That appears only once in this list, and so that would be included in the results of the unique formula. In my unit itself, we do just use the unique formula to extract a distinct list of values. We extracted all entries from our range of data, regardless of how many times they're listed in the range. Well, yes, we did. In these examples, we're going to be using more of the unique
Pressing and narrative.
Control T is my table has headers. Let's click on OK. And I'm going to choose a different table style.